Hello everyone. So somebody asked me this question and this got me thinking. So in this particular presentation, I'm going to handle that particular question and also give my point of view. And let's see if you guys agree or not agree. So again, my point of view, and the question that we are discussing today is whether a inland candidate has a distinct advantage over an outland candidate. So this has been a discussion for quite some time now. People from all over the world are applying for Alberta PNP, and this discussion is in context of Alberta PNP. So whether a inland Alberta PNP applicant has a distinct advantage over somebody who is applying from outside of Canada. So by definition, an inland candidate is somebody who is at the time of application working and living in Canada, and an outland candidate is again not working or living in Canada. The few points that there are certain nuances to this particular discussion, like an inland candidate is expected to have some kind of Canadian work experience but may or may not have a Canadian education, and similarly for outlander candidate, they may have a Canadian experience or Canadian education, and just at the time of application they are outside. So I have known a lot of people who studied in Canada, went back, and now are trying to come back to Canada. So there could be multiple nuances, multiple permutation and combinations to this particular discussion, but for our discussion, let's limit it to somebody who is applying from inside Canada or inland, and then somebody who is applying from outside Canada or outland. So however, for both of them, what I feel is important is that they need to have a job offer. What we have seen from Alberta PNP, in most of the streams, job offer is now more or less mandatory. And one point that we will see in this particular slide that you are seeing, that both of the candidates, whether inland or outland, for the purpose of this discussion, I'm assuming that they have a Canadian or Alberta based job offer, because to be very honest, it's now getting very difficult to get into the eligibility part without a job offer. Okay, so if you look at the new point structure, you will see that somebody who is from Canada does have a distinct advantage, and that you can see very clearly in the points grid. So if you have a Canadian work education and Canadian work experience, you tend to gain close to 10 points under each of these attributes, so 20 points in total, which means on the overall scale of 100 points, there could be an advantage of up to 20 points for an inland candidate. So that is a very distinct advantage for anybody who has Canadian education and Canadian work experience. So if you have both, there is a very good chance you can gain up to 20 more points when compared to your peers who are applying outside Canada. So again, a very clear distinct advantage. There is no denying the fact. In addition to that, if you look at the below 4 amber check marks that I'm seeing, even though you would see that in the points range there might not be much difference, but just the fact that an inland candidate is located inside Canada, they do have an advantage on obtaining a job offer, selecting their job location, and other things related to the job. It's easier for them to find a job as compared to somebody who is located outside Canada at the time of application. So theoretically, both of them have equal chance of landing a job, but a person in Canada may have a slight edge. So that edge is just shown by this amber check mark on the last 4 points. So again, the points grid system shows a very distinct advantage. If I do an example, like let's do an apple to apple comparison, similar profile of a person, just the difference being they are located outside Canada. So somebody who is an inland candidate with a Canadian experience and Canadian education is compared here to somebody who is applying from outside Canada with the education and experience in their home country. Other things remaining same, like they all have a job offer, they don't have a family in Alberta, and they have a similar score in English. I'm ignoring French for this particular discussion. So if I do a very apple to apple comparison, right, So then here also you would see that the 10-point advantage as far as education and work experience is very clear. However, the advantage for the job offer in this particular example is lost because I'm assuming both of them have a job offer. But even then we will see that somebody with a Canadian education and Canadian work experience does have an edge over somebody who is applying from outside Canada. However, there could be certain outliers. Again, if we don't do an apple-to-apple comparison, there could be a scenario where I am comparing a master's from India to a fresher out of college from Canada. Obviously, those two kind of profiles are not matched, and in that case, somebody with a higher education and a higher experience in India might have an edge over somebody who is just starting off in Canada. So those two are not apple-to-apple comparison. But if we do an apple-to-apple comparison, it's my opinion that yes, a Canadian education and a Canadian work experience does give a significant edge. 20 points edge is around 20% edge in the 100-point scale. So that is what is important to understand. So I hope people who had this question is that whether an inland candidate versus an outland candidate does have a distinct advantage. So my conclusion is yes, yeah, they do have a distinct advantage in my opinion. And I hope this clarifies some of the questions you might have. I am preparing few more videos on different questions people are having. So I hope that it will give you some value. So if you have any questions, reach out to me and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much.